You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Omlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Omlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode, Business Wealth Impact. Welcome, Vince.
John, it's good to have you here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what you're an expert at. And that is something very a la mode right now. And that is heart-centered leadership. Vince, why is this important and how do we do it?
Ooh. Well, I've built several companies purely as a capitalist. Mission, make money. And in that process, I created some good friendships, had great experiences, created good wealth for a lot of people. But I burned a lot of bridges. I manipulated. I did things that I thought the means justified the end. And when I look back, I realized the pain of hurting others so that I could get the win in a zero-sum game was really not fulfilling. And that ultimately, if I stayed on that track, I'd end up having a life that I regret. I believe it happens often. I believe that most businesses fail in part because they don't connect to the heart. And that leads to all sorts of challenges in a company, culture among one of those. So I think that's just in the last 3 years, 2 years, why I started to shift significantly.
Wow. Okay. That blows me away that somebody that was, I just got goosebumps. So somebody that wasn't a good guy is literally admitting I wasn't a good guy. And I realized I want to be a good guy. And this is what I did wrong. And I'm admitting it. That's huge and very edifying to even hear this. So, amazing. So, Vince, you made a lot of money. I think you said you had several 8-figure exits. All right. But you weren't really that ethical, you're saying?
You know what? Depending on how you define ethical, but
Mm.
I will say that I didn't do anything illegal, but I looked at a situation and said, hey, I see page 14 on this contract and you don't see it. And if I sign this in the next 3 years, there's a decent chance that that provision is going to hit and you didn't know what you were signing. I'm going to let it go. And I would be thinking 3 or 4 or 6 steps in advance and they didn't see that, or they never experienced that, or they didn't know what that provision was, or didn't realize that, I have an option, which means that if I exercise that option, I can take you out and then I can take control of the company, then I can fire you and then I can double my salary. And all those things are perfectly fine and perfectly legal and may even behoove the company, but I do it in a way that might be secretive or manipulative or really Machiavellian in my own interest.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's what is in my interest, and that's how I ran my company.
Okay. So illegal. However, that probably isn't ethical if you know somebody's not going to see something. So again, thanks for admitting that. And that takes a big person to admit that they've done these things because a lot of people do bad stuff and then they deny it or never own up and it festers. Okay, so you've come clean and I'm proud of you, first
Well,
of
and,
all.
and, and
Um,
let me say that the ethics of it are even more complex than that, John, and I'll tell you why. I have a fiduciary responsibility to my shareholder. If that team doesn't see the provision or the angle, that might be to their detriment, but I have people that invested in me and I have an obligation. I have a legal fiduciary responsibility to act in the interest of my shareholders. And so I've struggled with the ethics of it for decades. Now I
mm,
look at things completely differently, but I'll say that the ethics isn't quite as black and white as,
mm,
because there's different forces. My argument is that we've got to move from a profit-centered capitalist, greed-centered model into one
mhm.
that is heart-centered and one that is an omni-win.
I completely agree. No, and we're not going to go back and forth. I see your point of view, but you're admitting that wasn't the way you felt was the right way to be in business. So
Right.
we can just agree on that. And that's why you're here now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what first of all, explain to people what is heart-centered leadership. Okay, it's where you're thinking about everybody, where you're not just being greedy. Hard to do, right? I don't think it's hard to do because that's how I've operated. And I'm not saying I'm an angel, but it's always been my personal ethics. Even, I get it. There's illegal, immoral, and unethical, right? Some of them are one or the other, or all of them. Okay. Let's talk about later how you got to this. But what are you doing now? And what are you teaching people now that is different from how you operated?
I'm teaching them to be bifocal so that they make decisions with their minds. They use business mastery. They understand principles of scaling, automation, AI integration. I mean, smart business, M&A, C-suite, all of it. But that they always do so with the end purpose in mind. If they say, this is the design of my life, these are the things that I care deeply about, these are the values that I want to have as my legacy. And now let me make this decision right here in this moment based upon that from my heart. And let me find a way in my mind to orchestrate the omni-win. So there's a deep connection to the heart, which brings about seeing and validating and appreciating and recognizing others, that the pure, raw, dog eat dog capitalism neglects. And it hurts the employees, it hurts the customers, and ultimately, at some point, it usually hurts the profits of the company as well.
Right. Because you might be getting that win there, but then you're destroying the relationship with the people that didn't see that clause on page 14 of the contract. And they're thinking, hey, he probably did know. And then you destroy trust. So there must be a way where we can, obviously you figured out there is a way where you can help your shareholders and still help the other people, and you're all winning without manipulating and cutting them down at the knees, right? Because there's a way. You figured out that way. And the good thing is, you were saying before, you've realized that you actually profit more. So how the heart-centered business ultimately brings in more money.
Yeah, I really think it does. Now, there's probably occasions where it doesn't, really. Who knows in 3 years if you lose a contract because you burn that relationship, who knew this person? It just depends. There's a lot of criminals out there that are making a lot more money than us. So it may very well. I mean, it did. I made a lot of money. Was I criminal? Hell no. Break laws? No, none of that. But I was quite Machiavellian. I was quite cutthroat, and it was really about the deal, not the person. In many cases, in the final analysis. So the trouble, you said something that made me think this is that I'm sacrificing this relationship or this value for a deal or for money. I'm like, oh my goodness, I just cashed in that relationship and I got a check for it. And that is very repulsive, the thought of that. And I think there are many times where I lost great relationships where I picked up, $500,000 here or there. That's not a great trade-off.
No. And then you have a lot of people that probably don't like you as well. Not that we should care about whether people like us or not, but I think we should care that people like us because we're doing the right thing, and they don't like us because we're not doing the right thing. There we should kind of care what people think about us, not what people think about us on social media, of course. Okay. So how can people start developing more heart in their business and not stop, but retrain, not stop. How can they retrain themselves to not be thinking the bottom line and cutthroat, to retrain themselves where the business is still going well? Because there's a fear of that, I think, with people that, oh, well, if I don't operate this way, I'm going to lose money because what I'm doing is working. I don't feel great about myself, because nobody would feel great about themselves unless they're an actual sociopath or a criminal, right? And maybe some criminals don't feel great about themselves. Who knows? So, what's something that people can start doing to just start on this?
I would open up my AI and say, hey, AI, and I would get a relationship with it where it becomes like your very best friend, as if it's the most brilliant, omniscient, assistant in the world, kind of like Jarvis with Iron Man. And I would spend at least 5 or 10 minutes giving it a big, long ass prompt, something like, I'm in this business. These are the things I love about it. These are the things that I really care about. These are the things that bother me. Here's when I get triggered. Here's the employees here's been all my experience. Now, AI, I want to move to a place where I'm leading from my heart. I want to be purpose driven. I want to have an epic life. I want it to be significant. I'm asking you to be brutally honest with me, and based upon everything you know about me, ask me another 20 or 30 questions. I'll be brutally honest with each answer. And I want you to, after that, help me understand how I can ensure that I live an epic life, that I use my business as a vehicle to do good, that I learn how to get to a place where I am validating and listening to my employees, that I'm recognizing them, and that I'm creating wins for them. And that as I serve my clients or patients or whoever it is, that I'm doing so from a place that's sourced in creating an impact on society. These are the things that I now want to do with my life. Help me design, work with me. And you literally could turn that into a once a day, 1 hour conversation with your AI, which if you were to go through the work, it'll tell you what to do, how to do it, meditation, breath work, thinking, imagining, um, going through a North Star exercises, going through why was I triggered by that? When the employee came in and criticized me, this is what they said, and this is why I was upset about it. Tell me what that means. Do I have an ego problem? And literally getting in deep with AI and having it coach you.
I love that. Is that what you did?
No, it's not. But I also don't want to pitch. I got a coach.
No. I think that's a brilliant. I'm listening, thinking I do things like that, but the way you went through that, just using AI and all of that, that's great. I think that's a brilliant idea of how to get. I mean, it's even if somebody were going to work with you, Vince, to have done that before would be brilliant, right? Okay. What did you do? What did you do? What happened?
So I had a sizable deal. I had a $60 million private equity deal and $100 million line of credit for 46 companies in my imminent pipeline. I had LOIs signed with 6 of them. I was ready to go when COVID hit. As things started to fall apart at the seams and my wealth slipping away, and I'm losing 60 grand every day, the government's forcing me to stay closed. And I'm not saying I'm losing 60, meaning it's costing me 60 grand every day to feed tens of thousands of animals and obviously take care of the employees and vets and everything. It started to feel very heavy to me because I was so attached to all of the validation and the gold medal that comes with having a big private equity. It wasn't even an exit. That was just the first bite of my apple. I really thought that I had a line of sight to $1 billion company here. I started to seek out CEO coaches. I'd never had one. Here I am leading a team of 500 people. I probably need to figure out how to keep my shit together while this deal goes through. And so I sought out coaches. I interviewed 3 of them. All 3 of them were just phenomenal. I ended up hiring one of those, and 45 minutes into the first appointment with the one that I hired, my life changed. And I said, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I get it.
What a testimony for coaching and how powerful it is, right?
Truly.
Okay. Amazing. And you started realizing stuff and then you started working on yourself. And then I'm guessing you decided to start this business helping other people. Am I right?
I actually, about 8 months into it, told my mentor and my coach, I want to buy into your company. So I wrote him a
Mm.
check and I bought a third of his company.
Mm. And then what happened?
And I decided it's what I wanted to do because I saw the impact that it had
Mm.
on me. And it was a beautiful experience. And I thought, if I could do this for others, it's life changing. Not just for
Amazing.
me. It's life changing for everyone that works for me. It's life
Of
changing for
course.
every employee. I had 20 million people visit my zoos and aquariums over the course of the last 10 years.
Mm.
Had
Mm.
I been able to go back with my heart that I have now to
Mm.
30 or 35-year-old Vince,
Mhm.
those 20 million people would have had a different experience. The thousands of people that worked for me would have had a different experience. The many
Yes.
partners that invested in me, the people that see, I think specifically of my C-suite and my managers, it would have been different entirely. And in fact, as I went through my transformation, those that were with me long enough said, Vince, you're a different guy.
Mm.
It's incredible. Man, I liked you, but man, you were hard to work for. I loved you, and that's why I believed in you. And
Mm.
I've been with you through all this shit for 13 years or whatever, depending on the person. I've had a lot
Mhm.
of people that worked for me for over a decade now, many, but they saw me change.
Mm. Mm. Now remember, you were saying also, you escaped from the religion that you were brought up in.
Yeah,
So you've had several complete shifts about your ideology in your life, right?
I did.
That's
Yeah,
2 big shifts I'm seeing already. So do you think this is like a trend with you to have like this idea and then just shift completely and then find the next level and then shift again? Maybe you're going to have another shift. Complete shift. Okay, so you used that's right. You were telling me you owned a lot of zoos and stuff like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So you're all in on this. So what's I love the idea with the AI and getting that first insight. So what are some other reasons why people should do this even because they're going to feel better about themselves? Once they do the AI thing, then what do they do? AI could just coach them on this is how you should this is what you want to do and just maybe use AI as the coach and they can't get a coach like you or they should get a coach. Okay. But so what other insight do you have on this? How is this are you making as much money now that you're heart centered?
So I am building a retreat, a 16-acre retreat that'll house
Mm,
500 people a night. I've got a dozen guys there right now building waterfalls and putting up yurts and building meditation stations. And it'll have full ice bath, saunas, concerts, an amphitheater that'll be able to hold thousands of people. And once that's fully up and running, I will probably potentially hit an income similar to what I would have had 5 or 10 years ago, which is, in the millions per year, which is where I've spent most of my life.
mhm.
But I don't know that I care that much. I do want it and I am excited for it. And I think it'll probably happen. I mean, I've got a good business plan. I've got the money's lined up and we're in good shape. And
Mm,
the demand for this is just huge. This is what people want.
right.
It's blowing up.
Yeah.
But for me, I think about first thing when I experience this workout, how do we get this to everybody? Everyone needs to be able to feel this. This is beautiful.
Mhm.
And so this retreat center is really an answer to that. Is the idea of me bringing hundreds of people per night through this place and I brought together dozens of facilitators, people like you, Jean, that is really good with people and understand the capital markets, but also understand matters of the heart and spirituality. That if I can get hundreds of people going through there, having an amazing experience, connecting with their heart, getting them to actually begin working with AI, which is a brilliant coach, way
Mm.
better than me, then I think the problem with AI, most people don't know how to prompt it. If
That's
they knew how
true.
to prompt it like
Yeah.
I do, you would never need to talk to me.
Uh-oh, Vince will be out of a job. No, it's true.
Well,
You're good
I'm
at
not
that.
worried about that because I've got lots of
Yeah.
irons in the fire. But the
Yeah.
retreat center, for me, it's about scaling what I believe is a work that ultimately it leads to world peace. There's
Yeah.
no leader out there. You had
Mhm.
mentioned this is key, John. You had mentioned that you'd never had that inclination to go like manipulate and get ahead and do it. That's right. The feminine
Mm.
energy is beautiful that way. It's light and it's life, and it's been suppressed by men for thousands of
Mm.
years. No women. No, I don't know. There's too many women out there that have gone out and said, "Hey, let's all go to Vietnam and kill some 18-year-old boys." My wife
Mm.
would look at that the same way she would look at her sons and her daughters.
Mm. Mm.
Only
Mm.
a wounded fool that doesn't understand who he is and what humanity is and our unity would do
Mm.
something that is so hurtful, would ever do anything that would lead to refugees or children who are hungry.
Mm.
So I believe that bringing to pass a connection to heart where people feel deeply invigorated and see a better transcendent way of living, transcendent beyond themselves. I don't care how much money if it does that. That's the
Right.
currency. Like if I have to go ask my
100%.
neighbors to cook me a meal, I'll do it. But I mean, it's not going to happen. Or
Yeah.
I'm set really. I've
Right.
made good money early on. I put it in safe places,
Mm.
and it's there. But for me, it's really about the value of the work, the significance.
Mm. I love that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that retreat center and the name so people can watch out for it once it opens. No, it's interesting. You were talking about the feminine energy, and I was just sitting here thinking, okay, but let's be real. There are a lot of women that are shysters and manipulative. And I just heard about a great guy. He had a business partner, and she was embezzling from day one of their business for 12 years, millions of dollars embezzling because she was handling that part. And I just thought, oh my goodness. So it's not just men. I was shocked. And this poor guy, he was just like, he said, I was just really trusting. And now they're in court. Millions of dollars. I mean, millions. So some women do that. Let's be real. To not blame only men, So tell us about where is this retreat center and what's the name of it?
Well, I'm thinking about Ascension Hill. I'm thinking about Omni Summit. Funny thing,
Mm,
there's people there right now building phase one. There's two
mhm,
yurts that we just put up and 48 more structures, not all yurts, but structures to
mm,
follow. Don't have a name yet. It's at 17401 RM 1431 on Leander. So it's just North Austin, basically.
What state is that? North Austin? Okay. So if you're anywhere near Austin or anywhere you can get there, it's going to be ready in like a couple years, you think?
No, no. We'll have guests. We'll be able to handle about 100 guests by the end of this year, 2025, and
Wow.
then next year, middle of next year, we'll be bringing in 500 on big nights to spend the night.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sounds fascinating. Wow. Amazing. So you've done a lot, Vince, and it sounds like you're really. I get what you're saying. I mean, you're good. You've made a lot of money, and now it's just about like helping people and like what could be better than that, right?
Well, and to be clear, I've made a lot of money, but I've lost a lot of money, but I still have enough
Mm.
left. I
Okay.
don't want
Good.
to,
Right.
I've not, I became very, very successful and created a lot of wealth, but lost
Mhm.
most of it. And it's just, it's lost its allure. It's still important to
Mhm.
me. I still enjoy it. I still like take nice
Mm.
vacations and so forth, but it really, 100 times more impactful when I see
Right.
somebody that I feel has touched their hearts. It's sacred ground.
Mm. No, this is so important moving forward with AI. It's, now, it's now and the future that there is going to be a real, human contact will be at a premium, I believe. That there'll be a point where I don't think AI is going to do everything because humans are going to be, oh, I'm so sick of talking to bots. No, where's that? Actually, I don't truthfully believe the coaching industry is in danger because I don't think many people really want to talk to a bot all the time. It's good for that first, you know, get the information. I mean, you could, but there's no relationship except with the bot. It's not a person. So, Vince, that's been really interesting. What's Before we close off, what is a philosophy or a mindset that you want to leave people with that you live by now?
I truly have about 100 different nuggets that I try to keep in mind and have tried to make a part of me. But if there was one that is in my mind the father of them all and the single biggest one, it's self-love.
Mm,
And people hear that, and if I would have heard that 5 years ago, I would have said, "Yeah, I love myself. I make a shit ton of money. My wife's hot. My kids are smart. I live in a nice. I mean, like, you know what I mean."
mm,
And I would have
mm,
thought that that's what I'm. It's not what I meant at all. What I
mm,
didn't truly realize is in my deepest heart of hearts, I was seeking validation from others. I didn't realize I was enough. That was all subconscious, so I couldn't have ever admitted it because I didn't consciously believe it because I wasn't aware. But once
mm,
you begin to do an inner work, shadow work, where you're unpacking, why am I offended? Why am I frustrated? Why am I jealous? Why is this going on? Why am I competing? Why is this insatiable
mm,
desire for me? And then I see all that and say, oh, I know. It's because the
mm,
reality is this little boy, when he was 5, 6, 7, didn't think he was enough, didn't think he was safe or seen or loved in this case, which is silly because I had a really
mm.
good childhood, but it's hard to be a human.
It is hard, it is hard to be human. Alex Hormozy said that once, and I thought he's right. It is hard to be human. And somebody said to
Yeah, it's
me,
hard. I mean, my mom was amazing. Like I have no right to complain about anything.
right,
But I, for whatever reason, clearly, especially in my early teens, started putting up armor and walls and pretending
mm,
and faking and lying and deceiving. And
mm,
it served me what I thought was pretty well for a lot of years.
mm,
I think in a lot of ways
mm.
I was a pretty good guy. I did some good things as well. I've always had a
Oh,
sensitive heart, but I did things that
right.
I believe justified in the end, and
Mm,
that I today would never do. So I look at maybe 2 years ago when I had one day of a big giant flip on plant medicine, and I saw who I am. I saw who my
mm,
mom saw. I saw why my mom loved me so deeply,
mm,
and I saw those
mm,
gifts and talents that I had suppressed because I thought this is what I'm supposed to show. This is what people will like, and I
mm,
began to rip those walls down and live authentically and love who I am and how I've navigated my life. That seemed to change everything else.
mm. Okay, I agree. I think it is also based on true self-love, and like what you said, not what it sounds like, not puffed up. It's just truly accepting and loving who we really are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I agree. And thank you, Vince, for being on the show. This has been very interesting and entertaining in a way. Entertaining in a sort of serious way. So, and thank you for sharing your story. I was very interested at how you could just be so honest and vulnerable. And, I thank you for that because I think people really learn from people that are completely, and I don't love the word, but authentic. Hashtag unfake. So, thanks again. And also, if you're listening, thank you for listening. And if you really loved it, why don't you subscribe, write a review wherever you're listening, and we'll see you on the next show. You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jean Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jean Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.